warm welcome to everyone joining us. Today's webinar from CEP is really about harnessing digital transformation to drive commercial success. So we're really taking that angle of commercial success and how we can leverage technology for that. So today to join us, I'm your host. My name's AJ, and I'm joined by Rob Thurner, who's the subject matter expert on this topic. So let's give a little bit more of an introduction. So my role is I'm one of the founding partners of CEP. Rob, if you don't mind, if we just go to the next slide. Yeah,
Oh
so
yeah.
just a little bit about what we do within CEP for those of you that don't know. I mean, we're really passionate around focusing on customers and customer centricity in all that we do around commercial excellence. And what does commercial excellence include? This is a framework that we have in place to help build a common language and understanding of what commercial excellence is all about, because it can be quite an ambiguous term used in different ways by different companies and different sectors. And so we have collected our wisdom together, and we've worked on a framework where we understand it to be relating towards strategy, determining where to play, marketing, determining how to play, sales, innovation, digital, and people. And these are the key pillars that we see as being relevant to commercial excellence. And so these are the meta themes, but the overall writing goal is really how do we drive customer centricity, achieve excellence commercially, and create incredible value for customers and for ourselves as organizations. And that's what CEP is passionate about focusing on. Commercial excellence for us is really an integrated business strategy that optimizes all aspects of leadership and culture, sales, marketing, innovation, digital, and of course, customer experience. And we do this towards delivering value that customers are willing to pay for, thereby driving overall business growth and profitability. And so that's why we exist. We've formulated a nice group of experts on this topic. There's 10 of us. We're based all around the world, and we collaborate to further thought leadership and also work in advisory capacities and training capacities for leading organizations. So that's just a little intro to us and what we do. Moving along, again, there's a lot of background, with a lot of clients that we've worked with over the years, a lot of different types of programs that we've run. So we're quite new. We've only been around since November 2022, but we're building momentum, and we're glad that you're engaging with us on this topic today. Right. So as a quick recap, we run these webinars on a monthly basis. And the last one that we ran was also relating towards digital, but it was specifically focusing on leveraging Gen AI for commercial excellence. How can we transform business strategies and outcomes leveraging AI? Now, if you are interested to get access to that video, we have it recorded. You can go back, you can watch it at your own pace and time. We have slides that we can share with you as well. And we're happy to share that with you. So just drop us a message. You can put it into the chat, and Dora will make sure that she gets that across to you. A quick question just to get your input on this. How fast does Gen AI 10x? This was a quiz from the last one. So for those of you that might have joined the last one, you might already know the answer. Is it 3 years? Is it 2 years? Is it 1 year? Actually, it's even faster than that. So the answer is it's actually every 6 months. Every 6 months, Gen AI is 10x. It's incredible exponential growth. And so it seems like if you're behind the ball by 3 months, that's a substantial amount of time already with the way things are moving so quickly. And I know, Rob, you'll be talking a little bit more about this and making connections to this. Is what does this really mean for us as leaders? Because we're all trying to figure that out. It's such a broad topic that's coming under digital. All right, as we move along, focusing. So, as a reminder, we also have an AI toolkit, which really highlights some of the key tools that you can use. And Rob, maybe you could just take a moment to take us through this before we start your session.
Yeah, that's right. So thanks, AJ. So in our last session, one of our partners, Marcus, was talking through the different tools available. And what we're sharing here is we've broken these down into a series of buckets and examples of tools that we can be using right out the box. Most of these will be free, easy to use, whether you're looking at getting customer insights, assisting with your segmentation, content. Of course, content creation is a major part of what Gen AI is able to help us do as business leaders. And then if we look at SEO and content, how can we be using these tools, ClearScope, Market Muse, ways of understanding what customers are looking for and how to bring that into our search and our content strategies. And then, of course, optimization. How can we be creating content which dynamically is resolved to deliver the best result for our customer experience? And then, of course, personalization. We'll be talking about this a lot more in our session coming up in a few moments. How can we be developing personalization at scale, developing engagement? How can we be developing email outreach campaigns optimized to generate best impact? And then, of course, analytics and data insights that we can extract, different tools here that you can be using. So these are all available to you, as AJ said earlier. Please drop us a note, get in contact, and we will share this and more information with you as you wish. Yeah, so our session today is broader. We're looking at digital and the way that we can bring digital transformation in to drive commercial success for our organization. So the goal here is I'll be explaining some concepts. I'll be giving you some use cases. I'll be asking you some questions. We'll be doing some polls. Keep this super interactive. And really, the job is for us to find from you, where are your biggest obstacles? What are the biggest barriers getting in the way for you to realize your digital transformation potential? So the first point here, and these slides are not resolving as they should. The first point here is, this is a quote from Seth Godin. And what he's sharing is that we should be focused far more now on organizations at driving products to finding products that meet our customer needs rather than finding customers to buy our products. Now, the whole orientation of this is very significant. We are able now in the digital age to deliver mass segmentation and hyper-personalization at scale. We have the tools and the logic's very simple. The more touch points we are able to track, the better insights we have from our customers, the more customer satisfaction we can deliver, lifetime value. And this is a virtuous circle. So is that really the way it's working? Tom Goodwin, who's a digital marketing expert based in New York, makes this point, which I think is really fundamental, that we should be looking in everything we do to make life as quick and easy for our customers as we possibly can. And one example just to throw out, and a B2C example, think about Domino's Pizzas. This is one of the digital success stories. They built an app, a no-click app. And the idea is that you simply open the app, and if nothing happens within 10 seconds, the default is you will order your pizza of preference with the topping that you normally order. So making the user experience as quick and easy as possible is fundamental. And what we need to do is think, what can we learn from B2C examples and how can we apply them to the B2B world? Now, I just want to make sure, Dora, because of this slide issue, can I stop sharing and ask you to share the slides so we can see the full slide on screen? I think we're going to get a better experience all round if we.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. So thanks, Dora, and I'll just I'll give you a prompt when we move on. So, despite the fact that so many of our customers have the opportunity to get a better experience because we're capturing data, we know what they want, it's still the case, and this is based on some customer experience data, it's still the case that a lot of customers are really not having a great experience. They're either feeling trapped and they'll leave as quick as they can, or they are actively looking to leave. Now, when you look at the numbers, according to this data, 72% of revenue is at risk. So the question for us is really, is that because we don't know how to track what our customers are really thinking and wanting? Or is it that we know how to do it, but we're not very good at sharing the insights and this behavior across the whole organization? What we'd like to do is get a sense from you, where are you on your digital journey? And what we've got here is a digital maturity audit. And what we're looking at is organization structure. We're looking at tech and the way that tech is being used. And we're looking at how we can be building this into a culture which experiments and which is very good at sharing the data we are capturing and using, and deploying tech in a way which is fully joined up to the customer, but more important, internally. So if you jump on the QR code there, and then let's see where you fit. So you can see on the one hand, traditional, which is a very basic silo-based approach, all the way up to native, which is a far better, more integrated way of capturing and sharing data and making decisions on the basis of that and automating a number of processes. So we'll give you a moment just to take a look at the different options here and then jump on the QR code and tell us what you think. And Dora, if you can then share with us the Menti, that would be great.
Oh, we're getting an even split.
An even split. So
Bridge takes it.
Traditional, hub, and bridge being the majority there. So hub and traditional, if we could just go back one slide and then have a look at the options in that survey. Yeah, so bridge, the most popular. So this is somewhat at the beginning of our maturity journey. So we're seeing centralization of data, some agile team development, scalability, experimenting with cloud, and then APIs for internal sharing. So what we need to be working out is, okay, what are the steps we need to take to move to the next level of maturity? How much of this is about organization? How much of this is about tech and tech adoption? And how much of it is about sharing? AJ, any reflections from you about the bridge up to hub journey and what in your experience you're seeing?
Sure. Actually, listen, Basil has just joined back in. So Basil, you might have dropped off for a moment. If you can scan this QR code and give us your feeling of where your organization might be, we'd love to see your input reflected as well. It's a bit of a digital maturity, and we're seeing where we're all sitting. So what I can see is we kind of had a bell curve distribution across traditional and hub. No one was in the platform or the native, which is kind of a shame because we all want the natives to come in and show us, their best practices so we can learn from them. So without that, Rob, we're really going to be relying on you for the inspiration. I mean, what I'm seeing across I work mostly with Fortune 500 companies and large governments, and quite often I'm seeing also, they're really falling in that bridge and hub section. More family-run, smaller businesses getting really back into traditional. So would love to see what it looks like for others.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, so building a robust data strategy where we'll come on to this a bit later in our session, where we have a way of centralizing all the different data sets into a single point, and we're able to get clear insights about our customers and about their intent and motivations. That will allow us, of course, to provide a much more customer-centric solution, which in turn generates better return on our investment and better commercial returns all round for the organization. So it's good to see where we sit at the moment. If we can move on to the next slide, I'd like to dig a little deeper here into the areas that we need to play. Now, typically, to succeed with digital transformation, we need to win in 4 areas. We've got to provide great customer experiences. We've got to be using tech, data, and automation in the most effective way to reduce the time and remove any of the guesswork in providing the best services for our customers. Take those insights into product and product innovation and provide great experiences, which democratize the information, the insights we're capturing, and allow people across the organization to make better decisions bottom up rather than top down. So if we can go to the next slide, what I want to check here is where you feel the greatest challenges lie. Where do you feel the biggest challenges lie? And if we can look at these 4 options: customer, tech, data and AI, product innovation, and employee, which of these present the biggest challenge for you? And then we'll have a look at the response and then dig into some examples I'd like to share with you today.
Yeah, and this is also very important because this will guide the conversation. It's, we could do a webinar on each one of these topics, but since we only have limited time, it'll help focus where we spend more of our time to give you the insights that you're looking for.
Okay, so 2 clear winners here: tech, data, and customer experience, in fact, 50-50. And this is absolutely what I was expecting when we ask these questions. Often these two come up as the most important, not necessarily because they're the most difficult, because there are so many fast changes here that we need to be experimenting. We need to find new ways of developing our marketing and the way that we're developing our strategy. And it's often by having a more experimental way of working that we're going to unlock the opportunities and see the ways of improving what we're doing. So that's super helpful. And this really helps us as we go through the rest of our session to orientate around these areas. So if I can just go back to, if we can go back to the main deck, and I'll give you some examples here. Now, in any customer journey, it's very clear that digital raises a whole load of opportunities for us to better understand a customer and what they're looking for. This is some insight, and we'll share this link with you, from a study by Google that looked into 30,000 online purchases. And what they were looking at was how people make decisions across this rather messy decision-making journey. And typically there are two areas. There's the expansive area where we're exploring the different opportunities, looking at all the different products out there and comparing. And then we go into this evaluation, the reductive phase, where we're looking to understand how people make decisions. And the job for us is we've got to be there when they're looking for information, and we've got to be there also when they are in their evaluation phase. And ideally, we want to close the gap between the trigger and the purchase. So if you think about a complex purchase you've made recently, whether it's B2B or B2C, it's likely there will be a whole range of different touch points. And what we need to do is find out, how does that journey work for different customers with different intent, and how can we be there with the right message at the right time? So AJ, let me ask you a question. What was the last complex purchase you made that involved lots of different touch points when you were in that exploration and in that evaluation phase?
Yeah, sure. Well, for me, on a personal level, it's usually around travel and making travel decisions on, either purchasing airline tickets or booking an Airbnb or hotel. I see this, it's never a linear process where you just go step 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
But also, as an advisor, I'm seeing a lot of this in the B2B space, where it's even more complicated in B2B environments, because there's more stakeholders, and sometimes you get up to step 4, you think it's about a close, and then somehow the momentum slows down and it goes back to, I don't know, is it a 2, a 3?
Well, right, exactly. And so we've got more stakeholders. We've also got a longer purchase cycle. And of course, the longer the purchase cycle, then the more steps there will be. So if we can jump to the next slide, what we see here is the need to provide the right content at the right time on the right channel. And of course, all customers have got a different preferences in terms of the channels and what triggers them. But there are some biases that we need to build in. And if we're ticking the box with category heuristics, the language that people are using when they're making flight purchases, or they're buying some B2B software, for example, the power of now, social proof, is it getting a lot of star ratings? I'll show you in a minute how important that can be. Scarcity, authority, who are the influencers that we're using in our marketing to make that decision, and the power of free if we're running a freemium service. These are all key drivers to trigger that purchase and shorten that cycle from trigger to purchase. So I'll be sharing a little later how we can be using automation in order to understand what the customer is looking for and provide the right content and do this at scale. So on the next slide, I'm going to talk here about a business. You were talking about travel there, AJ. This is a really interesting example. So Skyscanner was a business set up 20 years ago by 3 guys at university going on a skiing holiday. And they started out with a spreadsheet, and they put together a lot of different flight options and realized actually this was quite complex and it required far more than a spreadsheet. And they built what has become one of the most successful flight and also car hire and hotel search engines. Now, what these guys did very well, and this this is an important trigger for us to think for our organizations. How are we making our decisions? They aligned very quickly on what was the most important driver for the customer. What the customer wanted was a wide range of flights at the lowest price and a truly fair way of making distinctions between them in terms of how they're ranked on the website. They were offered money. They could have taken money from flight operators who were prepared to pay a little bit more to get a higher ranking in the engine. But they turned that money away. Instead, they stayed true to what the customer wanted, and they built what has become a hugely successful business. They sold to Trip for 1.5 billion a couple of years ago. They rode out the pandemic very effectively. And what they've done is put the customer at the very heart. The reward has been this 4.4 Trustpilot star rating, which is significantly higher than the Expedias and Bookings, where the product and the product focus was more important than staying true to what the customer really wanted. So I think there's some lessons here. How can we make sure we're providing that right service, and how can we do so with the customer's best interests at heart and building the value in the platform, more happy customers, more revenue from their suppliers, and the platform value, of course, has increased, and they continue to be the go-to for a very loyal cohort of customers coming to them. So if we can go to the next slide, please. I want to look at another example here. And this is a great digital success story, L'Oreal. What L'Oreal's done is focus very much on the customer and providing experiential marketing, the engagement they're getting through these virtual try-ons, beauty tech adoption using AR has driven engagement. It's also driven repeat business. It's driven recommendations, highly targeted recommendations to a loyal customer base. And now we're seeing 30% of their sales coming from e-commerce, a very significant investment in digital marketing, in targeted offers and promotions to their user base, and a very successful way of bringing the online and offline together with some smart in-store activation. So I think here we see an example of a business that truly understands its customer, invests very heavily in marketing campaigns to drive sales, but also derive great insights from the usage they're developing and generate an ongoing success story, which is building loyalty, engagement, and competitive advantage. We're happy to share the examples of L'Oreal and what they've done to transform and bring tech right into the heart of the user experience to provide a better repeat business from their loyal customer base.
Yeah, so Rob, if I could just chime in for a second on this.
Sure.
One of the things that excites me about this is from this example, L'Oreal specifically, and I actually know this one because my wife has used this and she talked about this before. So fundamentally, we need to create value for customers. We need to understand along their journey, what are the jobs to do along that journey? I know you'll talk about this customer journey mapping later, but what are the jobs to do? And what I like is this example is showing how we can use technology earlier in the process to create value for users. So it's not just about having products on an e-commerce platform. That's 10 years ago. It's not about just hype, like personalization where people who bought A bought B. That's 5 years ago. I mean, that's kind of technology that's already been here. But it's about trying to unlock what are the jobs to do that we could do earlier that will differentiate us from competitors, and can we provide that value through technology in a scalable way that we can kind of, let's say, build that engagement sooner than our competitors do. And, we need to be thinking about that. And this is B2C examples, but B2B is learning a lot from B2C as well, right? Especially when it comes to marketing. So that's kind of interesting application and thinking around digital, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, no, I think you're bang on. And so creating that value, seeing engagement through so many of the channels that they're using. They've got over a billion users on their social media platforms, for example, and seeing this translated into a higher order value per customer. Of course, we can track how many interactions they're getting, how many people are using this try-on, like your wife and mine, and how that behavior is translating into sales and commercial success. So if we can move on to the next slide, Dora, thank you. We've looked at some examples there about customer experience and providing a customer-first orientation. What we need to figure out now is, okay, how do we use tech? How do we use data and unlock the value of that data? And how do we translate that into commercial excellence? So let's do this poll. If I can ask you guys to jump on the QR code here again. And thanks, Dora, for your help managing this. And let's see what you're getting in terms of effectiveness in deploying tech to unlock opportunities for commercial excellence. Scale from 1 to 4. So where do you sit at the moment on this data and tech adoption curve? Okay, so we're low down the scale, 1.5. 1.5. So what this says clearly is there is a long way to go. And the question we've got to ask is that because it's creeping up bit by bit? So we're now at 1.8, but still below the halfway point. So the question this raises then, and we've got a survey later, an assessment that digs into more detail on tech and data and automation. What is the reason for this? Is it that we are not aware of the different platforms and tools we can be using? Is it that we're not using that data effectively internally? You know, it's well known that the majority of businesses are sitting on a ton of data, but it's not being used effectively and not shared across the organization. Or is it that we haven't figured out how to automate a lot of these processes? So the numbers slid down to 1.4. So what I'd like to do now is unpack this, look a little bit more in detail at how we can be more effective in identifying and leveraging the opportunity that's available for us all right now. So, Dora, if we can just head back to the main slide. The challenge for us... Yeah, AJ, did you have a comment there?
Yeah, sorry, Rob. Before we get into this, I just really want to see if I could just get some input from some of the participants. That we have Sudeep is here with Ram Kumar as well, and Kasim Rory. I would just love to hear from any of your points of view as well, just to, as participants joining, how effective is your organization? What do you think is going well, or where do you think are the improvement points that you're seeing in your organization as it applies to leveraging technology?
Are we looking at the tech? Are we looking at what the tech can do? Or are we looking at how we can automate? Which of those areas would you say presents the biggest challenge?
Sure. To be honest, it's all of the above, but I think we're just starting out. So that's why we're just very much on the learning journey.
So you like more like just starting out, experimenting what we could be doing?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. Great. Rob, let's bring it back to you then. How would you take it forward?
Yeah, so if I can just jump back to the slides. So typically we are finding a vast number of tools available and tools which may be disconnected. If we look in the marketing space and the number of martech tools that have exploded in recent years, they're providing multiple different data sets. And then if we consider how our marketing needs to align with other parts of the organization, our CRM, our ERP, billing, inventory, point of sale data, there are multiple different silos. And often the biggest challenge here is that we've got these different silos. We've got data sets which are not integrated, and we're unable to see the big picture. Think of it from the customer point of view. If we are not tracking how many visits we're getting on our website, how many app downloads we've got, what sentiment analysis we can pick out of our social media, what traffic we're getting into the call center, we have a very sort of black and white view of our customer. What we need is that full color view, which means developing a single view of the customer And if we have a single view of the customer, we can then develop a single voice to the customer, where we know, for example, their channel preferences. We know what type of customer they are. Are they very considered in their purchase decision, back to that messy middle customer journey, or do they tend to make a purchase more quickly? The more we know about the customer, the better able we are to make decisions and be more precise in the way that we are using automation to deliver that best service, the right type of message, for example, the right delivery channel. Now, the problem we've got is the more segmented our data, the more silo-based, the more resistance we face internally, because it's just seen as too difficult, and therefore the less opportunity we're going to have building out effective and efficient and accurate integrations and activations with our customers. So we really need to focus on surfacing these insights. Now, I'll just give you an example. So I was doing some work with Google, one of my partners, and we were looking at e-commerce and the way that we can be improving e-commerce by capturing insights from customers. And there was a manufacturer of an iron, so irons that you iron clothes with. And they discovered some feedback from one of their forums that a customer was dissatisfied and sent the product back because they saw some water in the tank, you know, the water that you use to iron your clothes more effectively. They shared that with others around the organization, those in the product team, and that sparked an idea. Okay, why don't we use the fact that there's water in the tank as a selling point, put that on our product description page. And that chose to be a very effective way of driving clicks onto their product description page, and that converted into sales in a measurable way. So here we see an example of a business that's picked up some data from customer feedback, actually in the complaints area, and then translated that into a product benefit that they put onto their product landing page. So question for you guys is, how good are we at capturing and sharing insights across the organization? That's a big challenge. And I don't know if anyone's got any comments right now about how good we are at capturing and sharing data. Is it that we have a legacy database and a legacy system and infrastructure that prevents us doing it? Or is that more around the organization and silos and the data people are not sharing what they're finding with others around the business? Any thoughts on that? Any thoughts on data sharing?
No comments coming yet. I mean, just to kick off from my side, I'm just wondering if it's getting more and more complicated in life. I saw a post on LinkedIn a couple days ago where someone says, you know, I get my my data into HubSpot. I use another tool, Workday, to transfer information over. From Workday, it extracts into something else, and it just seems like we're using more and more tools, and life is just getting more and more complicated. And I'm just going to jump like 10 years. I'm wondering if there's going to be a time in like the near future. Is it AI where we can say, hey, AI, can you just help me figure this out? I have 5 different databases of information. I'd love to just ask you a query and you can spit out an answer. I'm talking about like Star Trek level
Yeah.
computer in the background.
Yeah.
Is that something on the horizon, or am I too
Yeah,
ambitious?
no, I think you're absolutely right, AJ. I think this is a process, and we talk about process automation. We're going to come onto that in a few moments, where we can be developing automation around processes and use of channels, which will take away so much of this duplication, which is clearly causing confusion and barriers. And it seems, as you say, I saw the same post, we're kind of going 2 steps back, because we're going to look on so many different channels where we should have a single truth, a single version of the truth, which is accessible to those who need to know. And back to my iron example, and another example I'm going to give you right now in the telco sector, bringing this data together and sharing it effectively is the key to unlocking the potential of our data and the systems we're using to unearth the insights which are essential to improve what we're doing and realizing our commercial excellence. So if we can look at the next example here and spin to the next slide, Dora, if that's good. This is the telco sector. So here's a business I've been working with, T-Mobile. In the States, T-Mobile has built a very successful reputation as the challenger brand. The big incumbents were very much focused on selling product rather than understanding the customer. And they built T-Mobile a reputation for disruption, being the uncarrier in the world of carriers. What they did very effectively here was capture vast amounts of insight about the customer centrally, and then share that with others around the organization. So they built a fairly rudimentary chatbot, as one would expect. But instead of having a very computer-based response, they used the chatbot to triage the challenge, the challenge the customer was presenting, and have the customer self-serve. Only once the customer was unable to self-serve and needed to talk to a call center operator, did they then put the customer through. But it's what they did in the call center which was truly revolutionary. And this was turned into a Harvard Business Review case, which we can share. They re-engineered the whole call center around the customer and built support for the call center operator with others in the organization. They brought service representatives alongside resource managers, alongside coaches, alongside team leaders, resolution experts, and tech specialists, all working together and providing a level of service to the person in the call center and a single dashboard, which allowed them to resolve very quickly the problem when the customer came into the call center and generate immediate results. So they saw a decrease in transferred calls by 70%, a decrease in staff churn in the call centers by 48%, and an NPS score increase of 56%. So in this case, back to your point, AJ, we're capturing vast sums of data, we're bringing together teams collaboratively to work on the challenge, not just leaving the call center guys to do it in isolation, and they're seeing demonstrable results. And of course, higher NPS, lower churn, faster resolution of challenge means commercial improvement across all sides, whether it's revenue generation, an increase, or it's cost reduction. So I think this is an interesting example of how we can be working more effectively, taking data in and sharing that with different stakeholders around the organization. The next example I want to share with you, if we can move on, is more broadly around bringing the voice of the customer into the heart of the organization. Now, we talked about the call center. Of course, the call center allows us to capture unstructured data and bring that into a resolution environment. And we've shown how that's been done by T-Mobile. But there are going to be a whole lot of other areas too. And we need to be very good at picking up the signals. How satisfied are our customers when we consider social media, where we've got unstructured data, and we need to use some sentiment analysis tools to understand what their real intent is, how they're feeling. Focus groups, surveys, emails, either direct responses to customers or inbound emails. And we can be using automation very effectively here to understand what our customers are looking for and build highly targeted and highly effective outbound campaigns. Now, of course, it's the job of AI here, and this is the big opportunity. Going back to your question, AJ, earlier, AI allows us to process vast sums of data rapidly, multiple languages, reducing human error and bias, which often gets in the way. Now, if we can do this effectively and generate a full spectrum of what our customers are thinking, their emotions, their intent, their sentiment, we're able to capture those insights and provide much better customer experiences going forward. So this, I would say, is really the new battleground. We need to get the tech, and we need to build the tech stack, integrate the different tools, and then provide automation on a level which we've been unable to do so far. So if we can just jump onto the next slide.
But Rob, sorry, I'm just curious, are we going to be potentially facing another challenge where, the last couple of years, there's been a plethora of these SaaS products that have been coming out. do we see the same thing happening with AI tools? And then now we're taking complicated and making it more complicated because now we have more AI tools that will be coming out. And or are you seeing that there's going to be more of a convergence where AI is just going to simplify life a little bit more across these different data lakes and silos?
Well, I think it's a great question, AJ. There certainly will be more and more tools coming on the market, and we saw earlier, you know, with a 6 month 10x. Of course, there's a gold run here, and a number of investors are jumping in and developing new tools. So there will be an increase in the number of tools available. But there's, on the flip side, an opportunity to simplify and standardize processes, which should make the job easier for us internally to understand our customer and what they're looking for, and then build those insights into processes which simplify and standardize rather than opening up more opportunities. But of course, and the big cliffhanger is, unless we know what we're doing, unless there's a good understanding of how we can deploy this tech in an effective way, and an experimentation that we're bringing into our staff, our teams, and a skill base that we're looking to develop, we will miss the opportunity. And of course, there is a danger, as there was back in the dot-com boom, for organizations to get all excited about the next shiny thing and lose sight of the most important challenge, which is providing the customer with the best service. And going right back to the beginning of our session today, making it quicker and easier for our customer to find and make decisions about what they're looking for. So what I'd like to do is just to jump on this slide and you know, deliberately, AJ, and deliberately, guys, this is not a simple job. This isn't a simple slide. There's a whole load of different ways that we can be using generative AI to solve for challenges that we have internally. And we can be looking at the data collection area. We can be looking at education and helping our teams internally understand the opportunity, and then using Gen AI effectively to streamline our marketing and SEO, to be producing great content, automated content. There are a number of brands who are very effectively now automating content creation, targeting, bidding in an automated way, and generating fantastic results, better ROAS, and better but lower acquisition costs and higher order values. And then we go all the way through to customer service. We've talked about that one already, and coding for our techies. So what we need to be thinking here as organizations is, how can we as leaders be developing a strategy, a consistent strategy across the organization, and stop different teams running off and doing a whole load of things in silos themselves and not sharing what they're learning and bringing it back to the center, and making sure that we are not just encouraging, but we are actively investing in our teams to develop their skills so they see the opportunity and bring this into experiments, which are providing learnings that we can share then around the organization. So that's a long form answer to your question, AJ. There will be more tools, but we need to have a better understanding of how to deploy this tech and bring it in to improve the organization. So one last slide before we move on, if I can just, I'll give you one example here. So if we look at people management and getting our organizations aligned, we can be saving vast amounts of time sense checking and screening our potential recruits coming into the business before they even arrive, to save a lot of time on the interviewing process. We can be bringing in AI tools to reduce bias reduction. We shouldn't be just hiring people who look like they're going to fit in. We need to make sure we've got diverse groups, maybe with strongly divergent views, to get the best possible results working as teams within the organization. And we need to be making sure that we are matching the right candidate with the right role. Of course, as roles are changing so fast, the marketer, 60% of the marketer's role will be changing in 2 years' time. So we need to make sure we're matching skills and aptitudes with roles. AI allows us to do that in a very effective way, saving us time and giving us a more accurate and a better skilled team to come in and do the job. So I'd like to bring that to a Q&A now and see what questions this has raised and what we need to do about it. If we just come on to the last slide, we can jump on one more.
Yeah.
So any questions, if we can just do the Q&A and see what comes out, what strikes us as the key takeouts from our session today.
So Rob, I think maybe to kick off, I mean, Vimal's already put a note in the chat here. Vimal, you want to just talk us through this?
Yeah, happy to. Thanks, AJ. Great presentation, Rob. A lot of food for thought there. I can't help but go back to this thinking that we talk about data like it's a wholesome, understood set of numbers, but it usually isn't, right? I mean, there's qualitative, there's quantitative, there's all sorts of data around transactions, abandonment, all sorts of metrics. Then there is even unstructured data. So I know AI is helping to put all of this together, but I'm just saying that very often we sort of lump it all under the label data, and we talk about digital transformation being driven through data. The reality of it is that, especially for somebody who's just starting out, such as Sudeep, if you're just starting out, you're literally looking at at least a few data lakes, and then you're just, oh my God, where do I even begin? I just wanted to point that out. So I think we are inundated with data and we are missing on the insights.
Yeah, so Vimal, it's a great observation, and as we all know, the adage "rubbish in, rubbish out." We need to make sure we're spending a disproportionate amount of time cleaning our data, developing what is the truth, what is the version of the truth that we are satisfied with, what's the most reliable source of that truth, and how can we, based on that accurate data, then start making some developing our insights and then building our models on the back of it. There's no easy answer here, but we need to bring together what we consider to be the most reliable data. And guys, that is your first party data. That's the data that you have direct access to. How much traffic are you getting on your website? What are those experiences that you're tracking with your Google Analytics for your tracking tools? What is it that you're hearing in your call centers? We need to bring all of this insight together. But it's a very good point about second and third party data. What we can do very effectively is use third party partners to help us find other audiences. For example, we create detailed profiles of our customers. We can go to Google, or we can go to X, or we can go to Meta and provide, using their lookalike audience tools, find similar customers if we're looking to expand our audience base and acquire a different set of customers. But if our primary data is inaccurate or inconsistent, then that matching process won't work. So I think step one, we've got to make sure we've got clean data, not duplicated and reliable, and that has to be the start of our journey. We don't need to start by boiling the ocean. We can do this with a small sample first, experiment, learn from that sample, and then scale up from there.
Great. Listen, last minute or two left. We're going to be putting up our slides. Just where are we here? Okay, sorry. The digital skills assessment. Rob, you want to just talk us through that quickly? Yeah.
Yes. So we've developed a skills assessment tool, and this is a tool which looks at knowledge. So we've got some multi-choice questions and attitude. So how confident are you to be using digital to perform certain tasks within the business? And this will help to spot your immediate areas for improvement. We can develop customized programs. So you're investing in your teams to tackle the most important challenges and evolving challenges within the business. And also we can see a pre and post confidence lift. So you get a sense of ROI there in your investment in upskilling your teams. The truth is that you should be considering that your digital skills have to be as fundamental as coming into the business knowing how to use tools like, in the old days, PowerPoint or Excel or Word. So we need to make sure we've got a consistent level of skills, that we're using the same language, and we're able to make decisions on the basis of that. So there's a link in the chat for the assessment tool. And if we can just move on one more. I'd like to thank you very much for your time today. Thanks, AJ. Thanks, Dora, for hosting this session. We have the slides, we have the assessment, and we're very keen to keep in contact to help you along the journey with your digital transformation. AJ, over to you.
All right, Rob. Thank you very much. Learned a lot today, and the conversation still continues because we're continuing to evolve. And I realize that in maybe only 2 or 3 months, things are going to again. We'll need to continually learn here. I'd like to just also make everyone aware that we do have monthly webinars on a variety of topics. We've talked about technology, but we've also talked about things like leadership and customer experience, aligning the buying process with the selling process. There's a lot of good topics which commercial excellence leaders are interested in. And the next one is really relating to pricing. And we have Patrick with us that will be joining us as a guest speaker as well. I will be hosting it again, and the subject matter expert will be, along with Patrick, is Dominic Endler. And so I'm really looking forward to that particular webinar, which will be on the 31st of July. So if you're interested, please do make sure that you sign up for that as well. So that's pretty much bringing us to a close, everyone. I'm sure you have next meetings to go to. So thank you very much for your time today. Again, if you want any of these tools or doing the assessment, please just get in touch, and we're happy to share with you what we learn and what we can offer you.